I felt the way that my dad died was not okay. I think people need to know this. I really do.
Do you have confidence in New Zealand's health system?
Not at all.
Because of what happened to your dad?
Absolutely. That's my dad. Yep, that was Christmas at the beach house.
So this is happy times. Your dad was in pretty good form.
Yes, yes he was. Yes, yeah. He wasn't on oxygen or anything then. So that oxygen's only probably been in the last year of 8 months of his life, I suppose. Yeah.
Kerry Mason remembers her dad, Brian Brosnahan, as a man who loved his family, including his great-grandchildren and the simple things in life.
He was a hard worker. He had a camper van and he'd go out all the time. He travelled the whole of the New Zealand, I don't know how many times. He loved to fish. He was just a solid person, typical Kiwi bloke, really.
But in recent months, the 83-year-old's health deteriorated. He had heart issues and emphysema, and on August the 4th, he died. Not at home where he'd been living, but at Rotorua Hospital.
Do you think your dad's death was preventable?
Absolutely, 100%.
Kerry says it all started to unravel when her dad was taken to the hospital's ED. Brian had unbearable pain in his legs due to advanced cellulitis.
How long did he spend at the ED?
Anywhere from 24 to 36 hours.
And was that acceptable in your mind?
No.
The Health Minister's office told the Herald this is absolutely not an outcome anyone would want should a delay of that length occur. Kerry's dad eventually got moved from the ED to a ward, and by August the 3rd, she says it appeared he'd improved.
I went and bought him a blanket and I took that up there for him, and he was like, oh, this is so much better. And he looked like he was sort of like snuggling into the bed, and he just looked a wee bit better.
More comfortable.
Yeah.
But just after Kerry left that day, she received a panicked phone call from her cousin.
And she said, Kerry, you better come down. I've just turned up at the hospital and walked in the ward to see Dad, and I walked past all these nurses because there was somebody on the floor. And she said, I looked and it was your dad. And she said, I don't know what's happened. You need to come back.
Brian had fallen over.
The doctor said, we think he got up by himself and went for a walk. And the nurse said, oh yeah, I saw him sitting on the edge of the bed. And thought, oh, he's okay. So I carried on doing what I was doing. And I said, okay, so how hurt is he? And I looked down to my dad and I said, how hurt are you, Dad? And he looked at me and he couldn't talk because his whole face was just black and blue.
What more could have been done in your mind to prevent that fall that day?
Somebody saw him sitting in bed and sitting up in bed. They knew that his legs probably would have held him, as they knew, because he couldn't take himself to the toilet. So if you can't take yourself to the toilet, you can't go for a walk.
Brian died a few hours later. Kerry says it was obvious staff on the ward were stressed and overworked.
There's no way in my mind that I would ever think they did it out of lack of care. No, it's because they are so busy. Yeah, so busy. And not enough of them. They were always computers, talking to another nurse, off they go, around there, or they'd come back. Yeah.
Just flat out.
Flat out, yeah.
Health New Zealand acknowledged the hospital was busy when he fell. However, it says appropriate care was provided.
And did the beds up on the ward all seem to be occupied?
Yes, and at that time they more or less closed down a ward for COVID. So it was busy.
So you're not apportioning blame necessarily to one nurse or doctor in particular?
No.
Your concern is the system?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
And how would you describe that system?
Poor. I don't think that this should happen in New Zealand. How does it happen in New Zealand? In this beautiful country that we have.
Kerry believes New Zealand's health workers are not valued enough, which is why she says so many are leaving for places like Australia.
I think they deserve huge money for what they do, but I don't think they're given the options to have that. I think their only option sometimes is to go overseas because New Zealand aren't keeping our good nurses and doctors and things.
Do you think the conditions become intolerable for some?
Oh, yes. Yes, I think they are. They're overworked, underpaid. They are not given any respect at all.
Is this what you'd expect in New Zealand in 2024?
No. And if you ask me what I thought it would be like in a year's time, if it carries on the way it is, it's going to be worse. Sit.
How much of a priority is healthcare in your mind in New Zealand?
Well, it's got to be right up there. It's got to be. I've got family, I've got little grandkids that might need that one day. We all need it. We pay our taxes for this.